Hey y'all, happy Monday. So this week, my intent is to finish Psalm 1 in the month of November so that we can dig into some seasonal things. I say Christmassy things, but that sounds inappropriate when I'm talking about scripture. But that we can dig in some things that deal with Advent, the birth of Christ, preparing for all of that. And, it's just the time and season. So my plan is to finish with Psalm 1 in the next couple of weeks. This week, we are digging into one of my favorite. Y'all know I have a lot of favorites, but it's simple to understand, yet we still don't get it. But I like talking about this because it is, God uses the spiritual, or he uses the natural to explain the spiritual. Things that we do understand to explain those more difficult spiritual concepts. So today we are still talking about the seed and the word and producing and all of that. And we are going to use several scriptures from Matthew and Luke. We've got a lot of words to dig into, so we're going to get some depth in that. So we were talking last week about the word is the seed sown. Mark 4 is probably the most famous. It's also in Luke as well. But parable where Jesus talks about the planting of the word and what it produces. And we tied that in last week to the importance of Psalm 1, because what we sow, or the word that we sow, is going to produce. And just to recap, Mark 4:24, and he said to them, "Be careful what you are hearing. The measure of thought and study you give to the truth will be the measure of virtue and knowledge that comes back to you, and more will be given besides." Well, that's God's multiplication. But be careful of the thought and study, the measure of thought and study that you are giving to the truth, because that is what's going to produce and be multiplied in your life. Well, if that happens with truth, that also happens with whatever you are putting inside. And that's where we really hear that Jesus says in Luke. He says, let's see, Luke 45. Luke 45, "The upright, honorable, and intrinsically good man, out of the good treasure stored in his heart, produces what is upright, honorable, and intrinsically good. The evil man, out of the evil storehouses, brings forth that which is depraved, wicked, and intrinsically evil. For out of the abundance, or the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks." So what we put in is going to produce. We're sowing those seeds, and those seeds are going to produce. Our heart is ground. I'm looking out the window at a cornfield, and there's corn in our field. And you know why there's corn? Because he planted corn. He planted corn. Cotton didn't come up. Soybeans didn't come up. Tobacco didn't come up. He planted corn, and corn has produced. And those seeds produce corn, because the seeds produce after their own kind. We read that from Genesis chapter 1. I'm pretty sure it's verse 11. We can go back there really quick just as a solid refresher. But that is the law that God established when he spoke the earth into being. When he established creation, he established laws, times, and seasons. And God said, Genesis 1:11, "Let the earth put forth tender vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees yielding fruit, whose seed is in itself, each according to its kind upon the earth." And it was so. So that each according to its kind is it's paramount. It's huge, because not only does that apply to, well, he's talking about seed, right? So a seed produces after its own kind. Well, he uses the natural to explain the spiritual. So if a natural seed produces after its own kind, then what do you think a spiritual seed is going to produce? After its own kind. The word planted is going to produce the word results. And we'll pick up here tomorrow. Bye, y'all.